Hello, I'll be starting the presentation in 2 seconds. Well, 10 seconds. All right, hello everyone. My name is Jean LaMantia. I'm a registered dietitian in Canada, and I am the author of the Essential Cancer Treatment Nutrition Guide and Cookbook, and I want to welcome you to this month's training for the Thriving After Cancer Coaching and Support Program, and I'm going to focus this month on healthy fruits for cancer risk reduction. And if this is your first time joining me, then just to let you know, I have everyone on mute, and then there will be a question and answer period, and then I will take any questions that you might have. So welcome, and I'm glad that you're with me today. So, wait a minute. Let me see if I can get my slides to advance. Just a second here. There we go. Yes. Oh, don't you love technology? Okay, so the agenda that we're going to cover, first of all, what are berries? Why are they important and how much should I eat? Then we're going to talk about citrus. Why are they important? How much citrus should we eat? And why should we eat it? And then I'll just summarize nutrition tools for your toolbox, and then I'll take some questions. And I'm going to tell you some big news that's happening with me that actually has an effect on you. So I'll share that with you at the end. So we're not talking about all fruits today. I wanted to, rather than just give just broad information, I wanted to go a little deeper on a couple of fruit groups in particular. So we're going to talk this month about berries and citrus. So what are berries? Pretty obvious to most people. Small edible fruits. Most are brightly colored, and that's because of the pigments, and those pigments actually are what is helping us in reducing our cancer risk. So blackberries, blueberries, cranberries, raspberries, strawberries, and lots of others. I mean, depending on where you live, you might be eating goji berries or Saskatoon berries or whatever local berries are in your area. Now, why are they important? The big thing is they have antioxidants, and these antioxidants help reduce oxidative stress. So this is a stress that is happening in the individual cells, and the antioxidants that are in the berries help to repair the oxidative damage. Okay, so it's a way of, they often talk about antioxidants as anti-aging, right? And that's because of their repair effects. And they also have specific anti-cancer nutrients, and these are egalic acid, anthocyanidins, and proanthocyanidins. They also are high in vitamin C. Now, vitamin C is, of all the vitamins and minerals, the most fragile, the most easily destroyed. But it is in a good source in the berries, and also fiber, which is always important. Fiber is good for a lot of things. Soluble fiber can help to lower cholesterol levels, and insoluble fiber can help to keep your bowels regular. But also fiber helps to feed the probiotic bacteria that live in our intestines. So fiber can have an immune supporting effect. Fiber is also anti-inflammatory. So the fiber actually has a couple of other benefits for cancer risk reduction, supporting those healthy bacteria, which help support our immune system, and reducing chronic inflammation, because chronic inflammation can be a starting point for cancer cells. So, and this is true of all of the foods in the plant kingdom that we consume, okay? Not just fruits, vegetables, whole grains, beans, peas, lentils, nuts and seeds, and I'll be talking about those in future trainings. Now, I just want to point out something to you. So this is the life cycle of a cancer cell. That's the reference there, what the article that this image is from. So the life cycle of a cancer cell starts here with inflammation, or probably more accurately, chronic inflammation. And chronic inflammation is a process in the body whereby the immune cells come, and they come to repair any damage, but then they don't leave. And then they create an environment that actually can allow a cancer cell to come into existence, and then for that cell to survive, proliferate, invade the tissue, go through angiogenesis, which is the development of its own blood supply, and then finally to metastases or spread. Now, this word in the middle here is nutraceutical. Nutra from nutrition, ceutical from pharmaceutical. So these are foods or food components that have pharmaceutical effect. Okay, and these black lines here with the perpendicular shorter line is showing you that it stops this action. Okay, so nutraceuticals can stop inflammation, cell survival, proliferation, invasion, angiogenesis, and metastases. So scientists who work in laboratories study cells at a microscopic level. So they're looking at cancer cells under the microscope, and they can actually see these different stages of the life cycle. They can see inflammation and that the cell has survived and not killed itself as most cells naturally do. They can see the cells proliferate. And they can also see that nutraceuticals, so food components, can actually stop a cancer cell at all of these stages. Now, I'm showing you this because I want to point out for you these two particular areas, and that one is cell proliferation and one is angiogenesis, in which the nutraceuticals that come from berries can interfere in the life cycle of a cancer cell. So berry nutraceuticals can reduce cell proliferation and reduce angiogenesis in the laboratory. Now, we don't know for sure that because these nutraceuticals from berries can have this effect in the laboratory, that they can have the same effect in the human body, because the human body certainly is much more complex than individual cancer cells in a petri dish. However, it certainly gives us reason to examine these foods and think that there can be some benefit to including these in the diet. And we do have other types of research that back this up, showing that a higher fruit and vegetable consumption is associated with lower cancer risk. Okay, so let's move on. Plus, in addition to these anti-proliferation and anti-angiogenesis effects, blueberries and cranberries are shown to increase immune cell activity. So our immune cells can actually help us defend our bodies from cancer and to combat cancer. And that's why many of the new therapies in the world of cancer treatment are immunotherapies, really looking at harnessing the power of our own immune system. Now, how should I consume berries? Well, best is pretty much anyway. Well, I shouldn't say that. Best is fresh, frozen, freeze-dried, and freeze-dried powder. Now, freeze-dried powder you don't see at the supermarket, at least not where I'm shopping. However, freeze-dried berry powder is used in research. So if you ever do come across it, it is a healthy, legitimate way to consume the fruits, to consume berries, and to achieve the health benefits from berries. Not as good would be juice, and I'll tell you why in another slide, and not so good at all would be jam. Okay, so why are these not so good? Juice, may have added sugar. So you really do have to read the labels. And actually, the word juice is a good thing to look for on the label because some fruit beverages will say beverage or drink. So it'll say apple drink or fruit beverage or fruit punch. So if you see those words, drink, beverage, punch, that's telling you that there's sugar added. You don't even have to turn over the label and look up the ingredient list. If you see juice, I do want you to look at the ingredient list and just see if that juice has been sweetened or not. Ideally, you want to just consume the fruits or the fruit juice itself without any added sugar. Now, jam, again, problem here is the added sugar, and it's usually a lot. It's certainly better if you can make your own jam. Particularly, I think freezer jams will set with a lot less sugar. You can also buy the ones in the grocery store that declare, made with half the sugar or less sugar. So if you're eating a healthy breakfast and you just need a little something sweet, then that could be an option to help you get the health benefit of that whole meal. Also, cooking the berries to make the jam will reduce the antioxidant level. Okay, so it's kind of a two strikes against jam. And an important thing to pay attention to, it's not that you cannot have any added sugar in your diet, but the strictest guidelines for added sugar actually come from the heart health community, and those guidelines say 25 grams of added sugar per day for women and 38 grams of added sugar per day for men. So you would find that information from the nutrition facts panel on the label. So let's just say, for example, that you are having jam and you turn on the label and it would say per serving size, let's say, I think in the case of jam, it might be 2 teaspoons or 1 teaspoon. And the number of grams of sugar, let's say it's 4 grams. So just to put that in perspective, you are allowed 25 grams for the entire day if you're a woman, and that serving of jam would have 4. Okay, so it's a good idea to track this. Let's say do it for 3 days. So write down what you're eating and track the added sugar content of everything and see that you're within that 25 gram a day limit for women and 38 gram a day limit for men. And if you're not, then I would suggest you make some changes to get into that level, okay? But if you are preparing most of your foods from scratch and not using a lot of processed foods, then quite likely you're already there, assuming you're not, taking sugar from the sugar bowl and adding that to your food. But I think that is quite uncommon nowadays. Most houses used to have a sugar bowl on it when I was a kid, but I don't think most places do that anymore. Okay, so juice, not as good. Jam, even less so. But there are limits, okay? So you can follow those. Now, one fruit that you might think of as, well, cranberries are so good for me, and they're particularly important for the bladder and people who have recurring UTIs or bladder infections. So you might think, oh, what am I going to do if I can't have cranberry juice? Well, here's a tip for you. You can just try buying frozen cranberries, and these are unsweetened. They're the type that you would buy if you were going to make cranberry sauce, let's say at Thanksgiving time. And just throw 2 or 3 of these in a smoothie, and it's a way to consume cranberries without getting the added sugar. Certainly, if you're buying cranberry juice, you want to look and you want there to be more water than sugar in your cranberry juice if you do find that you need cranberry juice to stay healthy, or you just enjoy the taste of it, okay? So it's a little tip for you. You can also cook these up. Just put them in a pot with some water and let them bubble away, and you could, it really It makes well, if you're familiar with cranberry jelly as a Thanksgiving, side dish, it's very much that texture. But if you're buying cranberry jelly already made, there's a lot of sugar in that. So if you make it yourself, you just add water, you cook it on the stove, and they all make this delightful little popping sound as they're cooking. And then you can eat that or spread that on your toast. Okay, and just add as little sugar as you need in order to make it palatable for you. Okay? So there's a couple of tips. And how much berry should you include in your diet? And I found this, you can see the reference at the bottom from a couple of researchers, and their suggestion is 4 to 5 servings per week. So almost every day, not quite. And a serving, in the case of berries, is a half cup. So, half cup most days of the week is another way to put that. So those are berries, and I hope you enjoy them. It's certainly a good time to talk about berries because we're coming up on nice local berry season in most areas. And now I want to shift gears, and we're going to be talking about citrus. And let's begin with what are citrus? It's a flowering plant from the botanical family called Rutaceae. I hope I pronounced that right. It's lemons, oranges, grapefruit, limes. Less common are pomelos, mandarins, bitter orange. That's the orange that they use to make, oh my goodness, I'm losing the word. Not jam, but, oh my goodness, I think you know it. Anyway, looks like jam, not called jam. Blood orange, tangerine, and tangelos. Those are all part of the citrus family. And again, I won't go through this in detail, but there is the life cycle of the cancer cell, beginning with inflammation and ending with metastases. Let's see where the citrus have their biggest effects. So the citrus are anti-inflammatory and anti-angiogenic. Why are citrus important? Well, this word here, nutraceutical, there are many different nutraceuticals, and this family, this polyphenol family, are examples of nutraceuticals. So, and in the polyphenol family, there's a group called flavonoids, and the flavanones, of which citrus is part of, are some of those beneficial nutraceuticals. There's also isoflavones, flavanols, anthocyanins, which we just talked about with the berries, and flavones. So the flavonoids, they reduce the risk of cardiovascular disease, neurodegenerative disorders, and cancer. How should we eat citrus? Now there's 4 things that I want you to keep in mind when you're eating citrus, and I'll go through these in detail. The first one is dental erosion. Second is juice or fruit. Third is pith or no pith. And finally, grapefruit and medicine. So first one, citrus and dental erosion. So citrus is acidic, and it's acidic foods that lead to loss of tooth enamel and make you vulnerable to dental caries. So to reduce your risk of caries or cavities, you want to wait 30 to 60 minutes after eating citrus before brushing your teeth. And that's because the acid remains on your teeth after you eat the citrus, and if you brush your teeth right away, you are basically grinding that acid into your teeth or rubbing it into your teeth, and you don't want to do that. The other thing, now if you, let's say you ate and you have to get back to work and you want to brush your teeth right away, you want to go somewhere, rinse your mouth with water after eating, and that will help to remove any acid residue from the citrus from your teeth, okay? You can also do both, rinse with water and then wait 30 to 60 minutes. But certainly if you do have to brush your teeth right away, rinse with water, okay? Pith or no pith. So the citrus has 3 layers. It has the peel, so that thick outer membrane. The pith is this white spongy stuff here. And then the flesh. Now, I used to be very meticulous about removing all of this pith before I would eat my oranges when I was peeling oranges. However, it's important to know that some cancer-fighting plant nutrients, specifically limonene and naringenin, are higher in the pith than the flesh. So you don't want to remove every single bit of pith that you can. So leave that pith on there and just eat it just like that, okay? And sometimes you may have actually been served a citrus that's been peeled, maybe in a nice restaurant or something. They peel all of that off. So you don't want to do that. Not only are you losing that outer, thin membrane, but you're missing all the pith as well. It's okay for once in a while, a special occasion, but on a regular basis, you want to consume that pith. Next thing, juice or fruit. Well, with the juice, you do have a loss of fiber and nutrients that are bound to the fiber. You have fewer of the phenolic compounds in juice than in fruit. You have a higher blood sugar rise, and this is something that's really becoming very important in the cancer community, as they're recognizing that not sugar so much, but the insulin that comes after sugar is a cancer promoter. Okay, so you really want to minimize those spikes or ongoing rise in the blood sugar. So the conclusion, if it's not obvious already, if you had to choose between juice or fruit, you want to choose the fruit. And finally, grapefruit. You may have been given a medicine and the pharmacist gives you some information about that medication, and on that information list it says avoid grapefruit with this medicine. Particularly some chemotherapies even will say this. Avoid grapefruit or avoid bitter orange. And that's because the phytochemicals in grapefruit can suppress the enzymes that help the body to clear drugs from the system. And so on a negative, what can happen there, it can lead to more side effects from the drug. In fact, in over 60% of commonly prescribed drugs, they are competing for the same enzyme to be cleared from the body. However, there's a positive side to this, and this means that it can lead to greater blood levels of anti-cancer molecules found in other fruits and veggies. So if you include grapefruit as a dessert after a healthy meal, then those beneficial phytonutrients that are in the meal stay in your body longer, because the phytochemical in grapefruit is using up the enzyme that helps to clear those healthy nutrients from the body. Okay? So grapefruit after a meal is a good thing. However, not at the expense of medication side effects. So if you are on a medication and you have been told specifically to avoid grapefruit, then you need to follow those instructions. And it's probably a good idea to stop consuming grapefruit for 72 hours before you try a new medication. But if you're not on any medicine and you're eating a healthy diet, then by all means include grapefruit, particularly after a healthy meal, to help your body get more benefit from those other beneficial phytonutrients or phytochemicals. How often should I eat citrus? I couldn't find a specific recommendation for citrus. The best guess would be weekly, if not daily. Another model that we can look at is the traditional Mediterranean diet. And in that diet, that's been shown to help reduce cancer risk. And what you want to think of when you hear that traditional Mediterranean diet is what the people of Crete, which is an island in Greece, or southern Italy, that whole Mediterranean area, would have been eating about 1970. Okay, so it's a diet where they're eating lots of fresh fruits and vegetables, probably harvested from their own kitchen gardens. They're choosing whole grain sourdough bread. They're having fresh fish, having nuts. They're using olive oil. And citrus is going to be part of that diet because citrus is certainly grown in that region. Okay, so we have a good model of citrus consumption to look at in that regard as well. So just as a summary, some nutrition tools for your toolbox would be regular consumption of oranges, grapefruit, lemons, lime, and other citrus, and berries 4 to 5 times a week. And those are just another couple of tools to help reduce your risk. So I want to begin the Q&A portion now. And I want to ask you, what's on your mind? And I'm just going to look at a different screen here and see if, let me see how I look for questions. Q&A. Okay, there we go. Okay. All right, I don't see any questions. You can always email me after anytime, and I will do my best to get back to you in a prompt manner if you do have questions that come up. So, monthly Q&A. So I did prepare a question for this month's Q&A talking about healthy fruits for cancer risk reduction in the event that there weren't any questions that came up during the live presentation. And my question is, are there any restrictions on fruit? So let's look at restrictions. And there are some considerations. I don't know if I would actually call them restrictions, but here's the first one. If you have high blood sugar, now this would be, for example, if you have diabetes, or if you've been told, sometimes your doctor might say you're borderline diabetes or you pre-diabetes, or if you're on a medication that you've been told has a tendency to raise blood sugar, like steroids, for example, can do that. You want to limit the total number of fruit servings per day and to spread them out throughout the day. So plants are super healthy cancer fighters, there's no question. And fruits are part of the plants that we consume in our diet. However, I think, 10 or 12 servings of fruit a day might be too much. And you want to, especially, now if you have a high blood sugar problem, the usual recommendation, in the diabetes community, for example, is 3 servings a day. And what you would want to do is spread those out. You wouldn't want to have all 3 servings first thing in the morning. So maybe you have 1 serving after breakfast, 1 after lunch, 1 after dinner. Okay, just to allow your body's natural secretion of insulin to be able to handle the blood sugar load. Okay, so that's that. Next thing is you want to have a balanced diet. So there is, an extreme type of diet out there called a fruitarian, and a fruitarian will only eat things, grown on trees, including fruit, and it's not a very balanced way of eating because they're missing out on nutrients that come from other food groups. So yes, fruit are good, but you want to have fruit in the context of an overall healthy diet as well, okay? Third one, caution with fruit that has added sugar. We talked about a couple examples, those being fruit juice, or specifically fruit drink, fruit beverage, fruit cocktail, jam, but also other processed sometimes have, fruit toppings, or if you're, I find a lot of times the kids' products are particularly bad for this, like fruit roll-ups or those fruit leathers. And it'll say, 100% fruit or contains real fruit. You need to look at the nutrition facts panel and specifically the ingredient list to see what else is in there. You might see glucose or high fructose corn syrup. So those are added sugars, and those need to be accounted for in your limit of 25 grams a day for women and 38 grams per day of added sugar for men. Okay? So just because something contains fruit doesn't give it a little health halo. Okay? You need to read the label and be careful of consuming too much added sugar. And finally, you can minimize the blood sugar and insulin effect by combining fruits with other food. And I think most people do this without thinking. They will have fruit after the meal. I think the time when they might be tempted to have fruit alone would be, let's say, an afternoon snack. So what you want to do is have nuts and fruit together at a snack, or some other protein type food with your fruit, okay? And that what that does is it slows down the rise in the blood sugar, and that means less of an insulin spike after consuming that, okay? So just a few things to consider. And the next training, I told you I had some news to share, and everything. I can tell you that my partner has been offered a job, and I can't tell you everything because the contract has not been officially signed, sealed, and delivered. But it looks like my family's going to be moving. So over the summer, I am going to be very busy sorting and packing and moving and getting settled and getting kids settled, etc. So I thought the best thing to do was resume again in the fall of 2016. However, have no fear. I know that I've promised you a training every month, and so I'm going to give you some extra trainings so that you will have at least a minimum of 12 trainings for the time that you're belonging to the Thriving After Cancer Coaching and Support Program. And you certainly have access to the entire archive during that time. That's going to be available for you. And you certainly have access to me and to ask me questions and to let me know if I can help you in any way. And I will circle back in the fall and we'll get back on track. And yeah, I think it'll be a lot of chaos in between them, but it'll be nice to be presenting to you again in the fall, because I know at that time then hopefully things will all be settled down and moved and unpacked and settled in and all of that. Just getting back to or establishing the new normal. So I wish you a fabulous summer, and I look forward to hearing from you in the fall. And I just want to sign off by saying live well and thrive, and just be healthy and happy and enjoy the beautiful summer. Bye for now.